So I would totally change the powerlifting rules in the IPF. What? Because this is what I think of them. I'm joking. I think the rules are largely good, but if I were to be crowned the president of the IPF and I had the power to change the rules by myself, here are some of the rules that I would change. And if you stay to the end, I will let you know my most radical opinion on the rule change. Plus, I will review what you guys think of the elbow depth rule and rate some of the suggestions that you guys have given in. Hello and welcome to our channel. My name is Norman Chum and I've been coaching powerlifting for over a decade, where I have worked with international athletes and university teams too. So the first rule that I would change would be the costume rule for female lifters. So there have been some issues in the past with costume rules. Now, costume rule changes have occurred in the IPF before. This isn't even an issue that's exclusive to powerlifting. Discussion around costume rules exists in other sports as well, for example, like volleyball. So there are females, particularly in the religious populations, that do not feel comfortable with not being fully covered. Now, the original concern which led to developments around the current rules was that previous lifters in the past have worn a full bodysuit or tights underneath the knee sleeves over them. Now, the original concern which led to the developments around the current rules was that previous lifters have worn a full bodysuit or tights with knee sleeves over them. Some have considered this to be an unfair advantage as it added thickness and support, as well as being able to get tighter knee sleeves on. So the rules were updated so that the bottom of the singlet would just touch but not overlap with the knee sleeves. But no manufacturer, as far as I'm concerned, has provided a singlet with a long enough leg. So the current situation is that if athletes want to wear a full bodysuit, they won't be able to wear knee sleeves. So in my opinion, from a fairness standpoint, it puts some lifters to be at a disadvantage competitively if they can't wear knee sleeves. So here's my proposal. I think allowing all female athletes equal access to being able to wear tights that slide underneath the top surface of the sleeves. Because having just the bottom of the tight that slip just underneath the sleeve isn't going to be conducive to performance enhancement. Or alternatively, you could just allow all females to be able to wear a full body singlet underneath, and this just puts all females on an even playing field. Ultimately, this makes the sport more inclusive and competitive overall as a consequence. So from a participation standpoint, it will definitely be a boost. So from a fairness standpoint, it solves that as everyone is on an even playing field. So the second rule that I would change is to add an extra 140 kilo weight class for men and 100 kilo weight class for women. So here's why I would consider adding an extra weight class. So one reason for me is that now it creates the same number of weight classes as the juniors as well. So it would give 9 total weight classes and it gives athletes more options, especially for much taller lifters or lifters that are in the 120 plus category but do not want to bulk up to beyond 140 kilos to be competitive against individuals in that super heavy weight class. Statistically speaking, there is obviously a correlation with body weight and performance, and I think that someone weighing 125 kilos compared to someone weighing 180 kilos being in the same weight class are just not the same creature. And I think that giving athletes more options is going to be a good thing ultimately for their experience. And the only argument that I can think of against this is that the super heavy weight classes are already not that competitive anyways. So I reckon with this 140 weight class, I think it would push some lifters from the sub 120 class into this new weight class, and even potentially some 105 lifters into the 120 class if the 120 class became less competitive. Ultimately, this would provide more lifting opportunities internationally, which I think is a good thing. And if you're ready, this is my most radical suggestion for a rule change. So the next rule change I would suggest is to get rid of the press command.
What?
Yeah, you heard that right. I think we should get rid of the press command. And here's why. My opinion is simply because there is a level of variability in the duration of the pauses of the barbell, to the point that it's become a meme where one of the things you nearly always hear in competitions is, mate, how are the bench press pauses from the refs today? So what's the alternative? Touch and go? Nope. My proposal is a rule that already exists in another sport. Have a guess. Now, if you guess right, you know that I'm actually referring to the WPPO or World Powerlifting or Paralympic Powerlifting rules for the bench press. In this sport, after the athlete controls the barbell down to the chest, in the rulebook it says the bar touches on the chest and remains static between the eccentric downwards and concentric upwards movement of the bar. The bar has stopped on the chest and does not sink into the chest before being pressed upwards. And this means that it's up to the athlete to show that they can pause momentarily on the chest. And the rule of not allowing the barbell to sink into the chest will also reduce the likelihood of bouncing or doing a touch and go with the barbell. So the fairness of this rule comes from not being negatively impacted by having different referees or human variability from the referee command. And this makes it an even playing field as it puts the ownership of the pause onto the athlete. And talking about the bench press, so I recently asked you guys what you think of the new elbow depth rule and other suggestions for alternative rules in place of the elbow depth rule. So now I'm going to rate your suggestions based on fairness, ease of refereeing, and how much better I think it is to the elbow depth rule. So I first asked whether you would keep the elbow depth rule. 51 51% of you said yes, 49% of you said no. So it's a pretty even split. And then I asked if you would change the elbow depth rule. Would you revert to the old rules or propose new rules? And there's an even 50% of you voted for each. And so here are some of the suggestions that you guys came up with. So this first idea came from Aggressive Nerling and Morris Mind. So respectively, you guys said narrower grip in weight classes or having a different max width grip for different weight classes, max grip only for over 83 kilos. So philosophically speaking, this leans more towards equity. I can see why you might choose this rule, but I can imagine it being a bit arbitrary and difficult to decide where to cut off the limit. So from a fairness standpoint, I'd probably rate it around 3 out of 5, as I think it would definitely favor heavier lifters. From an ease of refereeing, I give it a 4 out of 5, and from how much I think it is better than the elbow depth rule, I would probably give it 1. So overall, I rate this a 2.6 competition plates out of 5. So the next idea that comes from Adil Lips and Jordan Partington. So you guys have said pinkies on the ring for everyone, or they could make changes to the grip width, which might have a desired effect. And personally, I think I prefer this suggestion to the last one. This one leans more towards equality, and I'm not sure how you would judge clearly if the pinky was exactly on the ring, but maybe pinky on the inside of the ring might be a better variation. I think this rule would potentially increase the range of motion for everyone, but people with larger arches may still get away with smaller ranges of motion if they touch higher on their arch. And from how much better it is than the elbow depth rule, I give it a 3 out of 5. So overall, I give this rule a 3.6 competition collars out of 5. So the last idea comes from Squat Smith, which is 90 degrees on the inside of the elbow. Now, I think this is probably the better alternative to the other two suggestions. This is because it attempts to put the same anatomical degree of motion across everyone. So from a fairness standpoint, I rate it a 5 out of 5. From an ease of refereeing standpoint, I give it a 4 out of 5. And from how much better I think this rule is compared to the elbow depth rule, I give it a 4 out of 5. So overall, I give this rule a 4.3 white lights out of 5. So what do you guys think of the rule suggestions and the alternatives to the elbow depth rule? Put your vote in the comments below, and if you've got any other better ideas, or if you think I've missed anything out, let me know in the comment section below. So if you thought these ideas were interesting, please click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, as it helps the channel out loads, and I will see you guys on the next one.